Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 346 of a year of change. Now, I briefly touched on this throughout the weekend and yesterday a little bit as well. Sort of more yesterday than the weekend. It's related to a story from the... Anyway, when I went to go buy my Caesar salad stuff, I had a really strong craving for it. I wanted to go and thought, you know what, I know it's bad for me, but I'm going to go buy it anyway, which I did, which is now finally all gone. The last batch, because the hard part with, we're going to go off track already just for a second here. The hard thing with, what is it? What am I trying to think of? The bad thing about Caesar salad is the sauce. Everything else seems to be okay. I mean, bacon isn't great and cheese isn't great, but it's not bad. It's not the worst part of it. The worst part is the sauce. So what I did is when I had the last bit of the salad, I just pretty much drained the sauce off because it's been sitting in my fridge. So of course it's a little more watery. It's not coating everything. There's still a lot of sauce in it, but I have enough left over that I could probably make half a dozen, garlic Caesar chicken breast things. Like, it's a lot of fucking sauce that's left over in there. Anyway, so we're going to get off track there, or get back on track. When I went to go buy this stuff, generally I'll get just regular like romaine and cheese and all the other stuff, but I like throwing in the baby spinach as well. Because it adds a different flavor to it. It's a different texture, and romaine always seems to be a little bit bitter. So generally, I'll buy some of that. I just don't get it up very often, but when I do, I like doing that. And then I grabbed a thing of celery as well. So I thought, I'll throw in a thing of celery. That'll be a little bit different. And I walked out of there after spending almost $100, not just on the salad stuff. I got like chicken and cereal, I think, and something else. But the vast majority of the stuff that I got, it was vegetables and stuff like that. And I started looking at, because I know, if you remember a long time ago, well, actually the beginning of the year, so 2 months ago, not really long, but at the beginning of the year, they were saying that the food was going to be going up by about 4% throughout the year. And we had talked about, the cost of food and how, trying to eat healthier is a bit more expensive, but not really, and, all the other stuff. But it really sort of shocked me how much I was spending on stuff that just, if it was cookies and stuff like that, would not have been nearly as much. And I'll give you an idea. For one thing of celery, for one stalk of celery, couldn't think of the word, it's almost $4. Now, in the same store, the exact same store, they had cakes for sale, those little Vachon cakes. And like the little, or what's it called? Little Debbie's, or all those little Hostess cakes, all the little things like Twinkies and stuff like that, those little things. They had those on sale, and these things have been on sale this way for a year at least. So for the same amount that I spent for one stalk of celery, I could have gotten 12 cakes. Actually, that's not even true. I could have gotten 2 boxes of between 6 and 12 cakes each. So anywhere between, and usually those are double wraps, so anywhere between, we'll be generous and say 6 and 24 cakes for $4. So it is a little difficult to try to still have that. Now, it's not as expensive, if you shop properly and do this and do that. When you're looking at this going, God, like, that's a shit ton of food that I could have had and I mean, obviously very bad, which I didn't buy the cakes, don't worry, for the same price for one stalk of celery. And the romaine lettuce is the same thing. It's like $4 for one little thing of romaine. The baby spinach I can understand because it's a little bit different. It's it's already washed, it's already plucked, I guess, picked into little individual leaves and everything else. So that, but still, I mean, and you get a great big box of it. But even that was $6. I know that sounds really cheap because like it's $6. But my point is that you can go and get 3 or 4 bags of cookies for the same price. Like if I had taken $100 a year ago, the way that I was eating, I would have walked out of there with, well, pizzas are like $3 or $4. So like an entire pizza is the same. So could have walked out of there with 10 pizzas, probably 2 big packs of like big barbecue hot dogs, 3 or 4 big blocks of cheese, like 1 to 2 pound blocks of cheese, all the bad stuff that I would have eaten before. And I walked out of there with like 4 bags the other day. So it is really difficult to try to look at that and then still stand up and go, well, if you shop properly, not exactly. I mean, I'd like to say that my grocery bill has gone down. I'm eating, well, we figured the math out actually. I'm eating between, 1/6 to 1/7 what I was eating before. But I really don't think my grocery bill has gone down a whole hell of a lot. Because I'm eating a lot more healthy stuff. I'm eating a lot more fresh fruits and vegetables and things like that. A bag of apples. I usually buy like a 3-pound bag of apples. That's what I take to work generally. And those run anywhere between, if you get just the regular bag, they can go like $9 for maybe 10 apples. When in the same store, if you can go and you can buy like a shit ton of junk food for that, no wonder it's so difficult for us to stay on track with stuff like this. I haven't bought any junk food just so that to put you at ease. I haven't buckled and said, well, I just can't simply afford it, so I had to buy cake. But it's no wonder it's so difficult for people to, aside from our willpower, which we have a rough time with anyway, when you're going in and you have $20 left for your grocery bill, you think, okay, well, I can either get a bag of apples and 1 thing of celery, and then a couple of bags of carrots. At best. That's where actually, no, you know what? A bag of carrots. Or I can go and choke to death. Sorry. Or I can go and get 2 pizzas and a block of cheese to put them on. No wonder people do it. And because it's, you do. And I remember even when, a year ago when I was doing my shopping, you think, okay, well, how can I stretch this the furthest? And generally speaking, it's shit food. And, I'm not going to sit here and try to go, well, this is what the government needs to do, this is what stores need to do, and, of course, healthy eating and blah, 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 and everything else. We've bitched as much as we can about that subject. So, it's not going to change anytime soon. We understand, it's a simple matter of supply and demand. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but there you go. It really is. And plus, the cost of, growing something as opposed to just manufacturing something is way different. And I understand there are some ingredients that go into all the same stuff like pizzas and everything else. But when you're mass producing these by the 1,000, it's a lot cheaper to produce those than it is to, have fresh fruit that you get from some farmer. Even if it's this huge agribusiness sort of thing. If it's a huge industrial farm, it's still really, really expensive. We looked at how much water it took alone just for like animal feed and, growing vegetable like celery and lettuce and everything else. So there are a few things that we can do to sort of help that. Because when I started looking at this, and they said the food was going up by 4%. And in my head, I kind of figured, well, they mean like fruits and vegetables and fresh meat and stuff like that. And we did talk about that when we first heard the story. Things like cookies and cakes and candy and all that shit, that's not going up at all. That's staying right where it is. But it's really the healthy stuff that's going up. But it's gone up so much. And there's some stuff that, yes, it's only $1 here or $1 there. But when something that, like celery is going up by 60%, yes, it's only $1, maybe $1.50, but when you can look at that and say, yes, but that's just for 1 stalk of celery or a bunch of stalks, but you know what I mean, the 1 stalk of celery, 1 thing o' celery. And when they start adding up, and it's really difficult to try to keep, your grocery bill going. Now, I'm lucky because I have enough that I can just get my grocery bill, I can maintain what I'm eating now, and things are okay. But it's going to be much more difficult for a family of 4 to try to keep that up when their grocery bill in general is going to be going up by 30 or 40%. So now again, this isn't an excuse to say, okay, well obviously we can't afford it, so we have to eat shitty food again. You don't have to. There are a few things that you can do that, it's sort of cutting corners a little bit. The first thing I would say is, the main killer for me is the fresh fruit. Granted, I'm getting stuff like apples and things like that, so it's not tremendously expensive. But I do notice that depending on the time of the year, they go up, they go down, and in general, they're fairly expensive anyway. But when it comes to vegetables and things like that, aside from something like a salad, because, well, we'll get to that in a second, the main thing I would say would be to get frozen vegetables, just across the board. It doesn't matter, what sort of vegetable you're talking about within reason. We will talk about that in a second. That's the salad thing I was just going to say. I live on, not live on it. That sounds, let me be melodramatic for a second. I always have, there we go, that's realistic. I always have carrots and broccoli in my freezer. Just the little florets. I don't buy like fresh broccoli and then chop it up and everything else. I always buy frozen stuff. Because the stuff that's frozen is picked at the peak of its ripeness. It's fresh frozen. Flash frozen. I can't talk at all. It's flash frozen as soon as it's picked, so it's pretty much as ripe as it's going to get. It's just as fresh as if you had taken it out of the ground yourself, and it's not sitting on a counter somewhere for 2 or 3 weeks while it ships over and continues to ripen because they have to pick it before it actually gets ripe. We went through all this before as well. But, with frozen vegetables and frozen fruit for that matter, if whatever you can get that way, generally those prices don't seem to be going up as much. They're probably still going to go up a little bit, but I haven't noticed any huge jumps in, usually just get baby carrots and broccoli. And those prices have stayed the same, pretty much throughout the year. You might see a little bit of an increase, but when they're $3 or $4 for a bag, and you get quite a bit in a bag anyway. It doesn't have to be like the most expensive name brand stuff. Find a brand that's really, really good and that is still affordable. You don't have to go, well, we're just obviously going to go Green Giant all the way because it's the only thing that you can possibly do because it's the only one that we recognize. So we'll pay the extra, $5 a bag for it. You don't need to. Just find a good brand that has, you don't want to buy one that goes, oh, this is 50 cents for a bag, but it's all mushy and gross and they aren't really carrots in there. You want to have something that is good quality, but frozen food across the board is pretty much fine. You don't need to have super, super fresh stuff. It's nice to have once in a while, but if you're looking to sort of shrink down your grocery bill, that would be one thing I would point to, because I find that those haven't been going up. Where I am anyway. They might be different where you are. The other thing, too, is... and this is going to sound a little bit douchey. Oh, actually, no, wait. Let me go back because I was going to talk about the frozen thing. There are some things that you can't really buy frozen because they don't freeze well. Like lettuce doesn't freeze well. Celery does not freeze well. Pretty much anything that's all water just doesn't freeze well at all because you can't thaw it out and then cook it and think, oh, well, this is, or even eat it raw. You couldn't freeze lettuce and then throw it into a salad because it's going to thaw out and it's just going to be disgusting. Because it's almost entirely water. So, of course, when that freezes, it expands, it ruptures the cell walls, and then when you go to thaw it out, it's just all droopy. Like a face from Raiders of the Lost Ark. So there are a few things that you can't really freeze, but in general, frozen vegetables are good across the board. Now, other stuff, ideally, and this is where the douchey part's going to come in, but I will explain myself, try to get local stuff. By local, I don't mean, find a local farmer because they need your support and you have to have it all organic where there's no pesticide. Fuck that. I don't want bugs in my food. Pesticide the shit out of it. I don't care. As long as I can eat it, I don't care. But what I mean by local is stuff that is indigenous, I guess is probably the best way to put it. In Canada, we have pretty harsh winters, so there's not a lot of stuff that survives, but things like carrots and peas and squash and stuff like that, they'll survive. So if you're looking for fresh fruit that way, or fresh vegetables because they aren't fruit, you idiot, then, that's the sort of thing to look to. Depending on, that's when people say, well, when it's in season. It's a lot cheaper to try to get that, when it's in season. Because it's, a little bit better than trying to ship in these, luxury items like strawberries. The other day I saw just a pint of strawberries. It was almost $10. And I understand it's the middle of winter for me. I don't know when you're watching this, but for me right now it's the middle of winter. And of course it's going to be difficult to get them there. But oh my God, for $10 I can buy, another 25 cakes. 25 cakes for $10. So of course people are going to make that decision. And I think it's a little bit ridiculous that, it's just gone up so much. But we understand the reasoning behind it. It's like when I went to go buy my stuff, I thought, okay, well, it's only $4, but you're not getting that much. And compared to what else you can get for that price, that I think is where the shock is. Because I think, oh, $4 for celery, this is fine. And, $20 for apples, there we go. And then you think, do I get like a hand job or a sponge bath or something with this? Because this is a lot of money to be putting out on just vegetables without some extra bonus going on. But you don't, obviously, and they get very upset if you ask at the counter, apparently. But it's like these aren't made of gold. These are just fruits and vegetables, and it's ridiculous that they're going so high up. But we understand why. If you remember a long time ago, when France had passed a law saying that that grocery stores couldn't throw food out anymore, they had to bundle everything up and give it to homeless shelters and food banks and stuff like that, which is still a great idea. I think that we should still be doing it, but we knew that, or we found out at that point anyway, that probably half or more of the produce that a grocery store gets, they just throw away. So of course, if you have very low demand for it to begin with, or well, not exactly low demand. That's the weird thing. A lot of people buy this, but the people that are buying it are willing to spend the extra bits on it because I think there's sort of that air of, oh, well, this is better for me and I'm a better person because of it. No, you're not. You're eating more fruits and vegetables. That's it. Doesn't make you a better person. Being vegan doesn't make you a better person. Being vegetarian doesn't make you a better person. It just makes you a vegan or a vegetarian. So, when you have that sort of supply and demand thing going on, but half of your stock is being thrown into the garbage, then of course you need to raise the price again, and they need to find that balance. So they say, how high can we raise it so that we're still making a profit, even though we know how much we're throwing away? Because if we raise it anymore, then now we're throwing away 55% of it. So we have to raise it again. Now we're throwing away 60% of it. So they have to find that balance where they know they're still throwing away a ton of their produce, but it's enough that the price is high enough that enough people are buying it that they're still making their money back when they bring it in. And as we saw, a lot of the stuff that gets thrown away isn't bad. It's not inedible or anything like that. It's just people look at it and go, and I'm one of them, unfortunately. When you look at a banana, you're like, I'm not buying the one with a bruise on it. Because they're ripe for 2 seconds anyway. So you get, the bananas that look like good bananas. And the ones that have like a little tiny speck on them, you don't bother buying them. Even though they're perfectly fine and it's probably just one thing on the peel itself. So I'm just as guilty as everyone else. But it really sort of shocked me when I was going this weekend just to buy my stuff, because you think, oh, well, I'll go and I'll have a salad. It'll be fine. You don't expect to spend an extra $30 or $40 for a salad. Granted, I got a tremendous amount of stuff out of the salad and stuff I shouldn't have put in there. But still, when the most expensive portion of a salad is the lettuce, then obviously there's something wrong. So it is a little bit difficult to try to, balance that and say, well, I want to eat healthier, but I also want to be able to afford groceries. And it can be really, really, really tough. But I think if we try to avoid the junk food portion of it, there are some foods that we know are still bad for us, like hot dogs and what else was I going to say? I was going to say Doritos, and that's not right. Burritos, there we go. And like processed meats and stuff like that. Yes, we have them from time to time, obviously, because we aren't monks. But, it's trying to find that good balance and say, okay, well, we need to have, healthy meals for the majority of the time. So try to not exactly cut corners, but try to save where you can. And I really do think that the frozen vegetable thing is probably your best bet. Because for a lot of us, we're eating a lot more in the way of fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. And, you're not sort of shipping them and avoiding spoilage and trying to account for that. They're frozen as soon as they're picked. They're frozen on the transport. They're frozen on the way here, on the trip, I should say. They're frozen while they're here. So, I think that that's probably why they were able to keep the cost of it a little bit lower than fresh stuff. And they're pretty much the same anyway, just depending on how you cook it. But I think that, stuff like that, looking at, what's in season, as they say, which I couldn't tell you. I know in my head I'm thinking squash is in the autumn, and the only reason why I think that is because I think, well, no, that's when pumpkins come out for Halloween. And squash is or pumpkin is a type of squash. Or squash is a type of a pumpkin. It's one of the two. They're both gourds or something, aren't they? Yes, they are. They're fine. It's the same family. So that's the only reason why I look at that and go, oh, and corn, because that's in with the little Thanksgiving cornucopia thing with the feathers and the corn husks and all the little different maize things. Anyway, so aside from harvest time, I guess, because we're still living in, 1712, trying to find out what is in season and sort of adapt your meal that way. Now, for me, there are things like apples, which I really, really like them. I'm always going to be buying them, so that is a cost I know that I have to sort of put up with. And as much as it bugs me, spending at times $2.50 to $3 a pound for apples, but they're really, really good apples. So it's the same thing that we would have done before, where it's, you know what, I shouldn't really buy that, but I can get 20 pizzas for $40. Why wouldn't I do it? So you may not have the $40 right then and there, but in the long run, it's going to be okay. Or it's going to be better. It's going to be acceptable. There we go. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't really have any answers. I'm not trying to set this up so that we can say, well, here's how you can save $57 on your grocery bill each and every month. It's not. It's just things that I've noticed as I've been trying to, go do my grocery thing without spending every last penny that I have. And I know it sort of sounds cheap, especially that last sentence, and I don't mean for it to, but realistically speaking, if we're trying to eat healthier, then unfortunately, it's going to end up costing us a little bit more. We're eating a lot less than we were before, so I think that helps a lot, but really when I'm looking at it, I don't know if our grocery bill has gone down a whole hell of a lot. Depending on how much you're eating, I was eating a tremendous amount of food. I was eating a week's worth of food a day, calorie-wise. But I was eating very high-calorie foods, like cheese and, other cheeses and more cheese and pizzas with extra cheese and a whole lot of cheesy things. Lots of junk food and stuff like that. High sugar, high fat, high calorie. I was going to say caloric, but then high caloric didn't sound right. High caloric foods, high calorie foods. But they were very cheap. So I don't know. I haven't been able to do the math. I haven't been able to figure stuff out and go, well, here's exactly how much I'm spending now compared to how much I was spending then, because we didn't really give a shit. We really don't. We had $10, and hey, look at that. I could buy 3 boxes of cakes. That's what I'm going to buy with my $10. So it's a little difficult to try to keep things going, and staying healthy. Especially when it's going up and up and up. But keep an eye out for these things, like trying to find stuff that's in season or local or indigenous or whatever you want to call it. The time frame that you're in, if you go, you know what, these are cheaper at this time, well then fine. Then I'm going to sort of readjust and buy more of those at this time. Frozen fruits and vegetables, like I say, frozen fruit I find is still very expensive. More expensive than the fresh stuff in a lot of cases, which is weird. But I think mainly that's because it's like berries and melons and stuff like that. Maybe that's why. But frozen vegetables, I don't think they've gone up in the year that I've been doing this so far. So find some that you really like and go after those. For me, I find it's the carrots and the broccoli. It seems to really work out well. And it goes really well with the chicken and rice and all the other good stuff. So there you go. And every once in a while, spend your $100 and get your Caesar salad and eat 2,000 calories worth of Caesar salad sauce. Oh my God, there's so much left over. There's probably, I'm going to say at least a quarter of a cup, maybe half a cup of sauce left. Just from not eating, drinking it, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. Anyway, there's a nice image, isn't it? Just drinking Caesar salad sauce. Or Caesar salad dressing, you should call it. There we go. Sauce. Who the hell has ever called it Caesar salad sauce? That's stupid. Anyway, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please vote the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.